And so you got to work with these Native American children. I think that's wonderful. And you also did a drug discovery course.
We did.
That was through Smith College again.
Yes.
So what was that like?
It was wonderful. It was marvelous. I mean, I had been invited to Smith to talk about my research, and I talked about the two lives, the two hats I had worn in my career, the academic research and then working in the pharmaceutical company. And one of the professors said, most of the women at Smith only feel that to get into any kind of work in medicine, they have to get a medical degree. But you've shown that you don't necessarily, there are other opportunities. Would you come out and give a course to these young women? So Doug is more involved with parts of drug discovery than I, such as medical regulatory and ethics and so forth. So we put together a program with one of the professors at Smith. It was an intense inter-semester program in which we had maybe 30 young women. We had them group themselves as startup companies. So each startup company had a neuroscientist, a biochemist, a biologist, maybe an economics student, because there were some students who weren't scientists, and make it like and a chemistry person. So it was just like in a pharmaceutical company, because you have a team of people and all of them are necessary for putting together the ideas for a drug, implementing the research that goes into it, making sure that ethically and legally you can this is going to be a product that you could put into a human being and it would be safe and so forth. So we did that with these women, and it was young women, and they were amazing. We kept saying, now we're here. If you need us anytime, night or day, call us, because the idea was they were to come up with a new drug for the treatment of multiple sclerosis, and then they were going to come as a little startup company and present it to the faculty. And they came and they did an amazing job. And some of the faculty members said to us, what have you done to our students? And we said, nothing. We gave them freedom to do this.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing experience.
And again, it's an opportunity for you to be the mentor, but also to see, once you give them those seeds and teach them a little bit, they can kind of take it and run with it.
That's what was so, mind-blowing. It was really amazing and so gratifying, and very proud. I don't think I could have done what these students did when I was at Smith, but
with a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah, and we heard from them afterwards. Some of them would contact us and say, I'm thinking about doing this program or going to work with this professor or whatever. So it was very gratifying to be able to continue with their
to look
future.
Them all up and see where they are now. Yeah, for sure. And then, so you took a little trip down the Nile. You went to Egypt and you met a friend of yours, Shirley. And so tell me a little bit about what that trip was like.
Well, we went, the Middle East was closed for quite a while after the Arab Spring. And this was maybe a year after things began to open up again, and Egypt was advertising trips on the Nile.
So this was 2013, 14-ish, something around there,
And so Smith had a travel group, and they offered a trip, and it looked reasonable. So Doug and I signed up and went, and it turned out there were many women from Smith on this trip. And Shirley, who is an amazing woman, she has worked for Habitat for Humanity in 17 different countries and 4 different continents, and she is a leader. And when Shirley says, would you do this with me? You say, how far, how long, and yes, I will.
Yes.
So she said, I'm putting together a group of teachers. We'll be teaching English, an intense course in the English language for 14-year-old girls at a girls' school in Tanzania. And we are all like-minded, and I want you ladies to be part of my team, because we've gotten to know each other and we'll work well together, and we did work well together, and we did that teaching on 2 different occasions there. And it was, again, another experience which I will never forget. These young ladies, these girls were just sponges for outside input and having us there helping them with their English and doing many different things. We helped them plant fruit and vegetables and things that because they raised their own food to eat, and we took trips with them. We took these girls on a trip on a safari. They lived in Africa and had never seen wild animals.
Amazing.
So the book that we did, I actually took that book with me, and we went over some of the wild animals, and then we took them out into the Serengeti, and they actually could see these animals up close. It was an amazing experience, and one of the things that I learned about, we had an occasion to teach these girls about famous women, and one of the women that we taught them about was Oprah Winfrey. And about her career, about she was somebody famous. They had never heard of her. They'd heard of her because she had started a school somewhere in Africa.
Right.
But they didn't know anything about her being on TV or being in movies. So they read their little bio sketches, and when we had them talk about, and Lena Horne was another woman, we asked them about what they thought was the most important thing or the most interesting thing about the lives of these different women. Also, the astronaut, there was an African American woman who was an astronaut. So one of my students was talking about Oprah Winfrey, and she said, you know, Oprah Winfrey had a very hard life, and she was abused as a child. But to escape that terrible feeling and awful experience, she read books. She escaped into the world of literature, and that helped her survive.
It's very insightful.
And a lot of girls in this school were there to escape lives that would have been terrible for them. So that was a big lesson for me.
It's very insightful, and I think a lot of people would look at somebody like Oprah Winfrey and say, you know, oh, she's famous, she has a lot of money, you know, but they don't look at her life and what she's been through and what she had to do to get there.
Right.